Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about how to add or subtract fractions without the same denominators. So for example, number 1 over 2 plus 1 over 3. Now we cannot add them straight away because these two fractions do not have the same denominator. So in order to do an example like this, we first find the least common multiple, or the LCM, of the denominator terms. Now, if you're unaware in terms of how to work out the LCM, or the least common multiple, I have created a video on this channel and I'll provide a link to that video in the description below. So let me talk briefly in order to work out the LCM, in this case of 2 and 3. So I use the method of repeated division, and by repeated division I divide by the prime numbers 2, 3, 5 and 7, and this is more than enough in terms of listing the prime numbers when it comes to using the method of the repeated division. And we divide repeatedly both numbers until they no longer can be divided. So I can see that looking at 2 and 3, we cannot divide both of them. So the idea is we cannot divide both of them by these prime numbers, giving numbers with 0 remainder. So in this particular case, we multiply the numbers 2 with the 3, and that will give us the LCM of 2 and 3. So I'm going to say that the LCM of 2 and 3, so when I multiply the 2 with this 3, the LCM being 6. So once again, if you're not aware of the method of repeated division to work out the least common multiple, or LCM, I'll provide a link to that video in the description below. So this is my side calculation to work out the LCM of 2 and 3. And once you've done that, so that 6, so that least common multiple will be the denominator of the resulting fraction. And in the next step, what we do is, so if I take a red pen, so what we do is for each of these fractions, we divide that 6 by the denominator, and then we multiply the answer by the numerator. So we do these operations for both of the fractions in this case. So let me repeat. So first we divide the 6 by the denominator and then multiply the answer by the numerator, doing this for both fractions. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3, and it's a plus, so write down that plus. Doing the same for the second fraction, 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. And if I continue below, let's tidy this up so I can add the numerator terms. 3 plus 2 is 5, and it's 5 over 6. So that should be the answer to number 1. Right, another example. So for number 2, let's have a look. So 2 minus 1 over 5. So 2 is the same as 2 over 1. And as you can see, the denominator terms are not the same. I have a denominator of 1 here and a denominator of 5 here. So let's work out the LCM in a corner of 1 and 5. Now, I cannot divide both numbers repeatedly by the prime numbers 2, 3, 5 and 7, giving numbers with no remainder, so we stop there. So that means that the LCM of 1 and 5 would be, and if I multiply these numbers, so 1 times this 5, and the LCM would be 5. So 5 is going to be the resulting denominator of this fraction here. So let me write down that 5 here. And if I go to the previous example, just as a reference, remember the next step. The next step would be we need to divide the LCM by the denominator and multiply the answer by the numerator. So we do these operations for both fractions. So first we divide the 5 by the 1 and multiply the answer by the numerator term. So let's do that. So let me revert to blue. So 5 divided by 1 is 5. 5 times 2, 10. So it's 10 minus. Doing the same for the second fraction. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. And let's simplify this numerator. 10 minus 1 is 9. So it's 9 over 5. Now over here we have an improper fraction, but we can convert that to a mixed number or mixed fraction. So let me show you how that is done. So remember, write down that over 5 here. And 5 goes into 9 once, as 5 times 1 is 5. And the difference between that 5 and the 9 is 4. So 9 over 5 is the same as 1 and 4/5, and then we're done. Now, if you're not aware of the process of converting improper fractions to mixed numbers or mixed numbers to improper fractions, I have created a video on my channel and I'll provide a link to that video in the description below. Right, next example, number 3. 1 and 2/5 plus 3 over 10. Now, if we have mixed numbers, we need to convert them to improper fractions before working out the LCM. So I have a mixed number here, 1 and 2/5. So let me show you how to convert that to an improper fraction. So as a side calculation, 1 and 2/5. So first of all, write down the over 5 here. So that will be the denominator term of your fraction. And in order to work out the numerator, I'll multiply the 5 by the 1. So let me take a different coloured pen to show you the operations. So multiply the 5 by the 1 and then add that to the 2 on top. So let's do that for this fraction over here. So 5 times 1 is 5 plus the 2 is 7. So 1 and 2/5 is the same as 7 over 5. So I'm going to write down that 7 over 5 here. And we're adding that to the 3 over 10. And remember the next step, our denominators are not the same. So let's work out the LCM of 5 and 10. Let's do that as a side calculation in the corner. So we're using the method of repeated division, dividing repeatedly by the prime numbers. So I cannot divide 5 and 10, both of them by 2, giving no remainder. I can't divide 5 and 10, both of them by 3, giving numbers with no remainder. But with regards to 5, 5 divided by 5 is 1, no remainder. And 10 divided by 5 is 2, no remainder. So I can divide by 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1, no remainder. 10 divided by 5 is 2, no remainder. Now we stop the process here because we cannot divide these numbers any further or any more, giving numbers with no remainder. So what do we do next? So in order to work out the LCM, in this case of 5 and 10, we now multiply the 5 by the 1 by the 2. So let's work out that LCM. Let me revert to blue. So the LCM of 5 and 10, so that would be 5 multiplied by 1 multiplied by 2. And 5 times 1 is 5 times 2, 10. So 10 being the LCM or the least common multiple of 5 and 10. So remember the next step. That 10 will be the denominator of the resulting fraction. So I'll write down that 10 there. And remember the step that follows. the step that follows is we need to divide that 10 by the denominator and multiply the answer by the numerator, doing these operations for both fractions. So if I go back to my blue pen, 10 divided by 5 is 2. 2 times 7, 14. Plus, so I'll plus. Doing the same operations for the second fraction, 10 divided by 10 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. And if I continue below, so 14 plus the 3 is 17. So it's 17 divided by 10. And let's not stop there. Let's convert this improper fraction to a mixed number. So remember the idea, put that over 10 here. And 10 goes into 17 once. So 10 times 1 is 10. And the difference between the 10 and the 17 is 7. Okay, so remember 10 times 1. So let me put that in the corner. 10 times 1 is 10. So 10 goes into 17 once. And the difference between that 10 and the 17 is 7. So 17 over 10 is the same as 1 and 7/10. So once again, if you're not aware of how to convert between improper fractions to mixed numbers, or even mixed numbers to improper fractions, I'll provide a link to that video in the description below. Be sure to check out that video. Right, another example, number 4. 3 1/4 minus 3 over 8. Let's have a go at this one. So as you can see, I have a mixed number. Let's convert that to an improper fraction, as we've done with the previous example. So 3 1/4. So in the corner, let me write down 3 1/4. And remember the idea, write down that over 4 here. And to get the top number, so let me change my pen colour to green. So we multiply the 4 by the 3, and then we add that 1 there. So if I revert to my favourite colour blue, 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 1, 13. So 3 1/4 is the same as 13 over 4 minus the 3 over 8 in this case. So as you can see, the denominators are not the same. So let's work out the LCM of 4 and 8 in the corner. And let's divide repeatedly by these prime numbers here. So first of all, let's try 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, no remainder. And 8 divided by 2 is 4, no remainder. So 4 and 8, so both numbers can be divided by 2, giving no remainder. So as I said, 4 divided by 2 is 2, no remainder. 8 divided by 2 is 4, no remainder. Now 2 and 4 can be divided by 2 again, giving numbers with no remainder. So let's do that. Let's divide by 2 again. 2 divided by 2 is 1, no remainder. 4 divided by 2 is 2, no remainder. Now we stop the process here because we can't divide 1 and 2 by these numbers, giving no remainder. So remember the idea, the operative word is both. You can't divide both of these, giving no remainder. So stopping the process there, we say that's the LCM of 4 and 8. And all we do now is we multiply. So if I take my red pen, we multiply this 2 by this 2 by this 1 by this 2. So if I go back to my favourite colour blue, we multiply this 2 by this 2 by this 1 by this 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. Times 1 is 4, times 2, 8. So the LCM of 4 and 8 is 8. So 8 is going to be the denominator of the resulting fraction. And remember the idea, the step that follows next. We divide that 8 by the denominator and we multiply the answer by the numerator. So let's do that. So let me revert to blue. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. 2 times 13, 26. Minus in the middle. Doing the same for the next fraction. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. So if I continue along the line, so 26 minus 3 is 23. So it's 23 over 8. And this is an improper fraction. Let's convert that to a mixed fraction or a mixed number. So that over 8, let me write down there. And I know that 8 goes into 23 2 times. Okay. As 8 times 2. So let me write that in the corner. As 8 times 2 is 16. Okay. So it goes into 23 twice. And the difference between 16 and 23 is 7. So 23 over 8 is the same as 2 and 7/8. And then we're done. Right, next example, number 5. 2 1/4 plus 1 2/3. So we have two mixed numbers or two mixed fractions here. Let's convert them into improper fractions. So 2 1/4. So remember the idea. Write down that over 4 here. And remember, we multiply the 4 by the 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Plus the 1 is 9. So 2 1/4, same as 9 over 4. Plus, so a plus. Doing the same for this mixed fraction or mixed number, we write down that over 3 here. 3 times 1 is 3. Plus the 2, 5. So we converted these mixed numbers to improper fractions. As you can see now, the denominators are not the same. Let's work out the LCM. So in the corner, let's work out the LCM of 4 and 3. Now, as you can see, I cannot divide both of these numbers by these prime numbers, giving numbers with no remainder. So we stop there. And we say that the LCM of 4 and 3 will be. So now we multiply these numbers. So 4 times 3, that is 12. So 12 being the denominator of the resulting fraction. And remember the step that follows. The next step is to divide that 12 by the denominator and multiply the answer by the numerator. So let's go over that step. So let me revert to blue. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 3 times 9, 27. Plus, so a plus. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 4 times 5 is 20. So if I continue below, so 27 plus 20 is 47. So it's 47 over 12. So we have an improper fraction over here. Let's convert that to a mixed number or mixed fraction. So we write down that over 12 here. And I know that 12 goes into 47 3 times, as 12 times 3 is 36. Okay, so I'll write down that 3 over here. And the difference between 36 and 47 is 11. Okay, and then we're done. Right, next example, number 6. So 3 1/3 minus 1 1/6. So let's convert both of these to improper fractions, starting with the 3 1/3. So I'll write down that over 3 here. 3 times 3 is 9, plus the 1 is 10. minus, so a minus, over 6, let's deal with the second fraction, so over 6 we write down here. 6 times 1 is 6, plus the 1 is 7. From there on, we need to work out the LCM of 3 and 6. So let me do that in the corner. And let me list the prime numbers 2, 3, 5 and 7 above. And as you can see, I can't divide both of these numbers by 2. However, both of these numbers can be divided by 3, giving no remainder. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, no remainder. 6 divided by 3 is 2, no remainder. We stop the process here because we can't divide both 1 and 2 anymore, giving numbers with no remainder. So we say that the LCM of 3 and 6, so that would be, so if I take my red pen, I'll multiply the 3 by the 1 by the 2. So if I revert to blue, so I'll multiply that 3 by that 1 by that 2. So 3 times 1 is 3, times 2, 6. Right, so the LCM is 6 for 3 and 6, so we write down that 6 here. So 6 will be the denominator of the resulting fraction. And remember the idea now. So if I take my red pen, I divide that 6 by the denominator, multiplying the answer of that with the numerator. So if I take my blue pen, 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 10, 20. Minus, so minus in the middle. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times 7 is 7. So if I continue below, so I can tidy the numerator. 20 minus 7 is 13. So 13 over that 6. So as you can see, I have an improper fraction. Let's write that as a mixed fraction or mixed number. So let me write down the over 6 here. And I know that 6 goes into 13 2 times, as 6 times 2 is 12. So I'll write down that 2 here. And since 6 times 2 is 12, the difference between 12 and 13 is 1. And then we're done. Right, next one. Now, try example number 1. I'll give you a few moments and I'll go through the solution very soon. Now, for example number 1, part 1. So 1.5 plus 2 3/4, let's convert them into improper fractions. So for the 1.5, I'll write down the over 2 here. Now for the numerator term, 2 times 1 is 2, plus the 1 is 3, plus, let's do the same for the next mixed number. So I'll write down the over 4 here. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. Now the denominators are not the same. Let's work out the LCM of 2 and 4 in the corner. Let me list the prime numbers on top. So 2, 3, 5 and 7. So that should be more than enough. So I can divide both of them by 2, giving no remainder. 2 divided by 2 is 1, no remainder. 4 divided by 2 is 2, no remainder. So in this case, I can't divide 1 and 2 any further, giving no remainder. So we stop the process there and we say that the LCM of 2 and 4. So what we do now is, so if I go to my red pen, I multiply the 2 by the 1 by the 2. So if I change to my favourite colour blue, so I multiply the 2 by the 1 by this 2. So 2 times 1 is 2, times 2 is 4. So the step that follows, that 4, that LCM will be the denominator term of the resulting fraction. And remember the step that follows, we need to divide that 4 by the 2 and multiply that answer by the numerator. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Plus, so a plus. Doing the same for the second fraction, 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 times 11 is 11. And let's tidy this up. So for as far as the numerator is concerned, 6 plus 11 is 17. So 17 over 4. So as you can see, I have an improper fraction. Let's write that as a mixed fraction. So the over 4 I write down here. And I know that 4 goes into 17 4 times, as 4 times 4 gives me 16. So I'll write down that 4 here. And the difference between 16 and 17 is 1. And then we're done. Right. Try number 2. I'll give you a few moments and I'll go through the solution very soon. Right. 2 1/5 plus 1 3/4. Let's convert both to improper fractions. So 2 1/5. I'll write down that over 5 here. Now for the numerator, 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 1 is 11. Plus in the middle. Let's do the same for the second fraction. I'll write down that over 4 here. 4 times 1 is 4, plus the 3, 7. So the denominators are not the same. So let's find the lowest common multiple. I'll write down that 5 and 4 here. And I'll list the prime numbers 2, 3, 5 and 7 above. And as you can see, looking at these numbers 5 and 4, I can't divide them both, giving numbers without a remainder. So we stop the process and we say that the LCM of 5 and 4, so when I multiply the 5 by the 4, 5 times 4, 20. So 20 being the LCM of 5 and 4. So that 20 is going to be the denominator of the resulting fraction. So let me write down that 20 here. And remember the next step is we divide and then we multiply. So divide by the denominator, multiply the answer by the numerator. So if I go back to blue, 20 divided by 5 is 4. 4 times 11, 44. Plus, so write down a plus. Doing the same for the second fraction. 20 divided by 4 is 5. 5 times 7 is 35. So let's continue. Let's simplify. Let's simplify the numerator. So in this case, 44 plus 35. So that is 70, 79. 79 over the 20. And as you can see, I have an improper fraction. Let's change this to a mixed fraction or a mixed number. So in this case, I'll write down that over 20 here. And I know that 20 goes into 79 3 times. Okay, as 20 times 3 is 60. So it goes at most 3 times. So that 3 I'll write down here. And the difference between 60 and 79 is 19. And then we're done. Right. Try number 3. I'll give you a few moments and I'll go through the answer very soon. Right, with number 3, let's convert both to improper fractions, starting with the 3 1/4. So I'll write down that 4 here. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus the 1, 13. Minus, so a minus. For the second fraction, I'll write down that over 8 here. 8 times 2 is 16, plus the 3, 19. Now the denominators are not the same. Let's work out the LCM of 4 and 8 then. So let me list the prime numbers 2, 3, 5 and 7 above. And let's check whether we can divide both of them by 2, giving no remainder. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, no remainder. 8 divided by 2 is 4, no remainder. So I can divide both by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2, no remainder. 8 divided by 2 is 4, no remainder. Now let's check whether we can divide both of these by 2 again, giving no remainder. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, no remainder. 4 divided by 2 is 2, no remainder. So I can divide by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, no remainder. 4 divided by 2 is 2, no remainder. Now, I can't divide these numbers any further, giving numbers with no remainder. So we stop the process and we say that the LCM of 4 and 8, so that would be, and if I change my pen colour to red, I now multiply the 2 rather, by the 2, by the 1, by the 2. So if I go back to blue, so I multiply this 2, by this 2, by this 1, by this 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 1 is 4, times 2 is 8. So 8 is the LCM in this case of 4 and 8. So 8 is going to be the denominator term of the resulting fraction. And the step that follows is the divide and multiply step. So I divide the 8 by 4 and I multiply the answer by the numerator term. So let's do this. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 2 times 13, 26. Minus in the middle. Let's do the same for the second fraction. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 1 times 19 is 19. And let's tidy up the numerator. 26 minus 19, 7. And it's 7 over 8. And then we're done. So the answer to number 3, 7 over 8. Right, try number 4. I'll give you a few moments and I'll go through the solution very soon. Right, number 4. 3 is the same as 3 over 1. So the denominators are not the same. So let's work out the LCM of 1 and 2. So I cannot divide both by the prime numbers, by any of the prime numbers rather, giving numbers at the end with no remainder. So I say that's the LCM of 1 and 2. So let's multiply the 1 by the 2. 1 times 2, 2. So 2 is going to be the denominator of the resulting fraction. And the step that follows is the divide and multiply step. So I divide that 2 first by the denominator and multiply the answer by the numerator term. So if I go back to blue, 2 divided by 1 is 2, times 3 6. Plus, so a plus. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. And if I tidy up the numerator, 6 plus 1 is 7. So 7 over 2. And with the 7 over 2, with the improper fraction, let's convert that to a mixed number. So I'll write down that over 2 here. I know that 2 goes into 7 3 times, as 2 times 3 gives me 6. So I'll write down that 3 here. And the difference between 6 and 7 is 1. And then we're done. Now, try number 5. I'll give you a few moments and I'll go through the solution very soon. Now, number 5. 3 1/4 minus 3 1/4. So they're both the same. 3 1/4 minus 3 1/4, 0. So if you subtract two numbers which are the same, you're going to get 0. Now the last one, last but not least, number 6. Try number 6. I'll give you a few moments and I'll go through the solution very soon. Right, number 6. 5 1/2. Let's convert this mixed number to an improper fraction. So I'll write down that over 2 here. So as for the numerator term, 2 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Plus the 1 is 11. Plus the 2 over 3. Now the denominators are not the same. So let's go to the corner. Let's do a side calculation. Let's work out the LCM. I can't divide both the numbers 2 and 3 by any of the prime numbers above. So we stop the process and say that the LCM of 2 and 3, so if I multiply that 2 by this 3, 2 times 3, 6. So that 6 is going to be the denominator of the resulting fraction. And if I change my pen colour to red, so remember the next step, I divide the 6 by the 2 and I multiply the answer by the 11. So let's do this. So in this case, 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 times 11, 33. Plus, so let me write down that plus here. Doing the same for the second fraction, 6 divided by 3 is 2. 2 times 2, 4. So let's tidy up the numerator. 33 plus 4, 37. So it's 37 divided by 6. And let's finally convert that improper fraction to a mixed fraction or mixed number. Now I know that 6 goes into 37 6 times, as 6 times 6 gives me 36. So I write down that 6 here. And the difference between 36 and 37 is 1. And then we're done. Right. So that completes this example number 6, and that sadly ends this video. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.